Good evening. On behalf of the governing body of the City of Passaic, we welcome you to the January 25th, 2024 City Council meeting. In accordance with Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, adequate notice and instructions for this meeting were provided via fax to the Herald News, published on January 10, 2024, posted on the City of Passaic website at www.cityofpassaic.com, council agendas, and placed on the City Hall bulletin board by the Office of the City Clerk. Pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act, please be advised the City Council of the City of Passaic has rescheduled their January 23rd, 2024 council meeting to Thursday, January 25, 2024 at 7 p.m. to be held in the council chambers, first floor, 330 Passaic Street, Passaic, New Jersey, in person. Please be further advised this public meeting will be conducted in person. The Zoom stream is provided for viewing only and is offered to the public as a convenience. Instructions are also available on the last page of this agenda. Please be guided accordingly.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk? Councilman Love?
Present.
Councilwoman Mello?
Present.
Councilman Short? Councilman Garcia? Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Present.
And Council President Scheer.
President, shall we all please rise?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to meet tonight, Lord. Lord, we ask that those that are on their way, that you bring them, Lord, safely. We also thank you, Lord, for allowing us to meet to celebrate the life of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and his legacy. Tonight, Lord, we come with heavy hearts and we ask for a special prayer, Lord, for Sheriff Burnick's family, Lord. May you comfort them in this time where it's so painful, Lord, for the loss that they've endured. And we also ask you to guide us in the decisions that will take place this evening. In your beloved name we pray. Amen.
We'll take a moment, please, on behalf of the memory of Sheriff Burnick. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight, we have the privilege of celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Day. We are going to do such by asking for the mayor to share with us his update, as he does each and every time this council comes together. And we look forward each and every time to that presentation, Mayor. Following the mayor's update, we will be taking approximately a 5 to 10 minute break. The purpose of that break is so that the staff can put together the necessary elements for the Green Acres Grant Applications Program public hearing. After that, we will go into the actual agenda for the evening. Right now, Mayor, with your kindness, I'd like to ask on you to share with us what's going on.
I'm going to defer my report for the Martin Luther King program. I believe it's first on the agenda.
It'll be first on the agenda coming back.
I'm sorry?
We'll be first on the agenda after we...
I will defer to the Martin Luther King program.
Okay. Councilman Love, you are the Martin Luther King board.
Yes, I am.
How would you like to proceed, sir?
I would like to go on with the presentation.
Sir, the gavel is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First and foremost, I want to just welcome the community here to our annual MLK commemoration program. I want to take this time before we even start to thank the mayor and the city council for instilling this in me and allowing this program to continue. It's very, very important to our community, not just African American, not just Latina, to the entire community, that we realize and keep on the legacy of Dr. King. We have our youth here. I'm going to get it right out the way. I want to thank Mr. Place. Mr. Place finds a way to find talent and bring our youth in these programs. I want to thank LaShia Tooley in advance for her commitment. Our program is going to be modified somewhat, just as things go on in life. We keep going on with the program. We had some alterations and some changes. Evelyn T. Robinson, who couldn't be here today, She had some issues going on in her family, and one of our students, who was supposed to perform today, his name was here, Eric Hines. He also had COVID and he had some issues, so he couldn't be here today as well, okay? So guess who's going to do libation today? All right, got to step up, right? Be prepared for nothing and ready for everything. So for those of us who are not aware, it's not going to be long, I'll tell you that. But for those of us who are not aware of what libation, well, first, before I start, I have to get the permission of the elders, the oldest. I'm not going to call anybody out to say that, but if you feel you are the elder in the room, please give me permission to proceed. Pastor, you might be. Is it okay if I proceed, Pastor? Yes. Is it okay? Thank you. Thank you. So libations is one, and it serves two purposes. First, to invoke the dignity for any ceremony in the African American culture. Thank you. And two is to pay homage to ancestors who we stand on the shoulders of. Sometimes it's easy to toot your own horn and think you've made it all on your own. But the things that we're able to accomplish is because of the people who came before us. So libation is to also uplift those ancestors. What we do is we pour water into the earth and in the symbolization of giving respect and honor. So we pour the water and we say out a name, Dr. Martin Luther King, and we repeat by saying, Ashe. Okay? Ashe. So we'll try it again. Dr. Martin Luther King. Ashe. Good. The Honorable Harriet Tubman. Ashe. Brother Langston Hughes. Ashe. Brother Malcolm X. Ashe. And that's the tradition and that's the manner in which we have. So what we're going to have now is we're going to have individuals. You can yell out names because ancestors and those that came before us can be family members. Well, they are family members. But they don't have to be those iconic names that you hear and that we learn about all the time. They can be those that's important to you. So yell out a name and I'll pour libation for them. Ashe.
Julia Crockett.
Ashe.
Wesley and Rosella Stone.
Ashe.
Maya Angelou.
Ashe.
Sabrina Truth.
Ashe.
Frederick Douglass.
Ashe. I have one more.
George Carver.
Ashe. Muhammad. Ashe. So again, this is a modified version of libation. And again, Evelyn T. Robinson was there. She'll give you a little more history of it. But I just wanted to make sure that we keep the tradition of invoking the dignity into the room before any celebration, and also invoking our ancestors. Thank you, and I'm going to go back to my role as moderator of the program. Now we'll have a praise dance by LaShaya Tooley.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom.
And I think it's fitting to point out the fact that LaShaya is dealing with her own tragedy. Her family felt it not robbery to come out and perform for us tonight. So she deserves another round of applause. Thank you. At this time, we're going to have Mr. Keith Place, the entire Pace Academy School, and come up and lead us and lift every voice. We can all rise, please, and lift every voice and sing is on the back. It's an inside cover. And I do want to point out that during printing, Johnson was cut off, and it is by James Weldon Johnson. Thank you. Please be seated. And before we have Pace University and Mr. Place do a selection, or two selections. I'm sorry, Pace. High school. I'm sorry, high school. I don't know why I said that. I should know better. Pace High School, I apologize. We'll have them do two selections. But we just want to do a few quick acknowledgments. Okay, first, we want to, and this is no particular order, but we want to point out that we do have our Congressman, Bill Pasquale, with us. We want to point out Reverend Davis, Roger Williams Baptist Church. Deputy Mayor Edwin Garcia. Deputy Mayor Jaime Delgado. We're blessed to have our board, two of our board members here, Danny Rodriguez, President, and Judith Sanchez, Vice President. We have Ms. Diane McNair from the Housing Commission. And our presumed oldest elder, Pastor Chest Chong and Young Chong. We have Imam Muhammad here. Thank you for being here. We have one of our strong advocates, community advocates, and that's Renee Griggs here. We have Minister Ashley Lipstone here. We have our former president of NAACP, Sean Allen, here. And I believe still the vice president, is that Sherry Greer, NAACP. We have Henry Rhodes Jr. from CAP, the CEO. And please, we will, as we go on, we will announce anyone we have. So please turn it over to you.
Just give us one moment. One of my students had a degree. God's still good. Just give us 1 minute. Yes, we'll be back.
Mr. Place, if you can do us a favor, can you announce the students? Because, or you want to do that later?
Students, why don't you stand up and why don't you introduce yourselves?
That's even better.
Just say your first and last name and what grade. All these students are from PACE.
High school.
And science and engineering. So, first and last name and what grade.
Got him in the university.
Ready for a performance?
And as my colleague pointed out, I said Pace University. I'm speaking it to an existence. They're all going somewhere, right?
Okay. Our first selection is just the two of us. Oh, sorry. be Just the Two of Us by Bill Withers. I see the crystals raindrop fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through to make those rainbows in my mind. When I think of you sometime, I want to spend some time with you. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Building castles in the sky. Just the two of us. You and I. We look for love, no time for tears. Wasted water, oh that is. It doesn't make no flowers grow. Good things might come to those who wait, not for those who wait too late. We gotta go for more and more. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Building big castles in the sky. Just the two of us. You and I. Time for tears, wasted water, all that is. It doesn't make the flowers grow. The things might come to those who wait, not the fools who wait too late. We got to go for and grow. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Building big castles way up high. Just the two of us.
Broken down and tired, living life on the merry-go-round. Can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. And mountains, we gon' walk it out. And
After this next song, we'll be hearing from Reverend Hagler, right immediately after this song. All right?
We do have another selection for the crowd.
Okay, thank you so much.
And just let me mention, I'm just filling in. I'm the keyboard player. Our keyboard player could not make it tonight, so I'm filling in.
Thank you for filling in. We also want to recognize Christina Stratch Robinson, Board of Education member. Thank you.
Next song will be Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry.
Awesome job. Awesome job. Great job. Let's give them another round of applause, please. This is bittersweet because this young man thought he was going to get away from us without offering us something to remember him by. Let me tell you, if you haven't had the opportunity to hear him speak, then you need to get there before he leaves and you need to follow him wherever he goes. Reverend Hagler, I want to take this opportunity. I know the mayor has done it and he'll do it in his own way, but just thank you for what you've done for Passaic community in your tenure here. And I mean, sincerely. It's fitting that you're leaving us or we're sending you off, one or the other, right? Or both, with you giving us something to live by. And I'm sure we will, right? So no further ado, let's put our hands together for Reverend Hagler.
Grace and peace be unto you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. We honor the Lord for his goodness, his mercy, and his loving kindness towards us on today. I pray that after tonight, something is said and done that will encourage you and help you along the way. Good to see Dr. Davidson on tonight. Pastor Roger Williams back to church. Let's give him a hand. Let's pray. God, we thank you for this time and opportunity for life, health, and strength. Speak to our hearts as only you can. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I want to talk about something tonight that I think all of us has either experienced, is experiencing, or will experience. I just want to speak on the topic of the danger of division. The danger of division. If for whatever reason you don't remember anything else that I say tonight, allow me to give this entire lesson to you in one sentence. Unity destroys segregation. Unity destroys segregation. Dr. King says, like an unchecked cancer, hate corrodes the personality and eats away its vital unity. He says, hate destroys a man's sense of values and his objectivity. He says it causes him to describe the beautiful as ugly and the ugly as beautiful, and to confuse the true with false and the false with true. Beloved, the problem today is that we will cancel one another quicker than we would confront and console one another. We live in a world where we are easily desiring to destroy one another by any means necessary. But the truth of the matter is we resemble what we desire to destroy. That's what we call today cancel culture. I hear you. What is cancel culture? Cancel culture is this phenomenon, or it's a practice of publicly rejecting, boycotting, or ending support for particular people or groups because of their socially or morally unacceptable view or action. This cancel culture, beloved, has ruined careers, but it can also make a public figure think twice before posting any controversial comments. We have victims like Kanye West, cancel culture. Taylor Swift, cancel culture. Jon Stewart, results of cancel culture. Cancel culture, beloved, is this new prejudice and way of segregation, and that we are okay with destroying versus finding ways to develop. We should not feel comfortable and find pleasure in exposing the faults and failures of one another. In case I be accused of not bringing you some Bible, James chapter 4, verse 11 through 12 says, do not speak evil against one another, brothers. The one who speaks evil against a brother or judges his brother speaks evil against the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge. For there is only one lawgiver and judge. He is able to save and to destroy. But who are you, a judge or a neighbor? We are not judges. We have no power to pass judgment. But we have power of restoration and love as brothers and sisters toward one another. Here's what Dr. King says. We must learn to live together as brothers, or we'll perish together as fools. When you look at this destroying of division, Christ should be the foundation of our culture, which is love, peace, and harmony. Beloved, that we understand that we can't continue to be okay with walking together but living disconnected. That our government can't continue to be one-sided privately but unified publicly. that photo ops and reels of work does not matter if all lives have no worth to those who are in power. Let me stop and put a nickel in the meter when I tell you that this type of culture is unhealthy for the growth of our society. Look at it. Cancel culture can damage a person's reputation even if they're innocent. As a result, people may be unfairly judged and criticized without the full facts of even being known. For beloved, if we're going to mimic the compassion of Christ, then we need to learn how to mimic the methods of Christ. Here it is, Matthew chapter 7, verse 1 through 5. Read it when you get home. Judge that you not be judged. But with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. And with the measure you use it, it will be measured to you. Why do you see the speck that's in your brother's eye, but don't notice the log that's in your eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye when there is a log of your own in your own eye? He says, watch this, you hypocrite. First, take the log out of your own eye, and then you'll be able to clearly see and take the speck out of your brother's eye. I hear you. I hear you. Y'all quiet. I came to preach tonight. I hear you. I hear you. Hypocrisy is not the church or the pastor. Hypocrisy is not government or the mayor. Hypocrisy is not the White House or the president, but hypocrisy is a characteristic that has a revelation of a character in which that person is willing to hold you to a standard that they are not willing to live up to themselves. Hypocrisy is pointing out others' sickness when you sick yourself. Here it is. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupt talk come from you out of your mouth, but only such as in good for building up as it fits the occasion, that it might give grace to those who hear. Carefully watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Manage and watch your words, for they will become your actions. Consider your judge and your actions, for they will become your habits. Acknowledge and watch your habits, for they will become your values. Understand and embrace your values, for they will become your destiny. Beloved, I'm done. We must come together and leave the foolishness and fighting behind us. We need to trade in our guns, because we have traded our guns for gossip and it kills one another. We've traded in our knives for social media posts and we slice each other's throat. We are butchering each other's influence to promote an agenda that only benefits us and our people. We can't be selfish. We can't be self-centered when serving people is the agenda. 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11 says, finally, brothers, rejoice, aim for restoration, comfort one another, agree with one another, live in peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you. Why this topic? Why have the audacity on the day that we commemorate Dr. King? I talk about cancel culture. Why? Because the life of Dr. King was one of unity and uplifting of all people. It was his dream that unity becomes a reality and division dies in the hearts of those who carry it like they crave a pacifier like a newborn baby. Division has to die. And now, beloved, we must be watchful that you and I don't fall into the trap of canceling one another. Because not only is cancel culture unhealthy, but cancel culture is dark. Nelson Mandela said, no one is born hating one another. No one is born hating one another because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. It says people must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. Yes. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. I came to tell you tonight, avoid the cancel culture. It's unhealthy, but then avoid the cancel culture because it's dark. At its core, cancel culture is about shame for the person being canceled. Shame is a self-critical emotion in which a person displays a negative view of themselves. Feelings of shame often come from what other people think. These intense feelings grip a person's self-image and lowers their self-esteem. Canceling often becomes bullying. And this further creates feelings of loneliness, anxiety, depression in a person that's being canceled. The person who is the canceller is also putting their mental health at risk. They might be finding some satisfaction that gives the canceller a false sense of justice or better social status. But Jesus teaches us not to cancel one another, but instead come together and be one in him. I brought some Bible to back that up. Romans chapter 12, verse 16 says, live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with lowly and never be wise in your own sight. I came to tell you tonight, unity is beautiful. Unity is strong. Unity is peace. Unity is integrity. Unity is the absence of pride. It's the absence of selfishness. It's the absence of fighting. It's the absence of division. As a matter of fact, Malcolm X put it this way. He says, we need more light about each other. Light creates an understanding, and understanding creates love, and love creates patience, and patience creates unity. In other words, let me put it where you can get it. I believe it was DJ Will Trax who puts it this way. Shine the light on them. Put the birthday person in the middle and shine the light on them. Here's what he says. Here's the part I like. He says, make room. Let them work. Don't discourage, make room. Let them work. Don't sit in judgment, make room. Let them work. Don't tear them down, make room and let them work. Don't divide, but dream. I hear you. I hear you. I have a dream that one day the red hills of Georgia and the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I hear you, Dr. King. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I hear you, Dr. King. I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I hear you, Dr. Dream. I have a dream. He says, I have a dream, and because I have a dream, I can't be defeated. That's why he closes with saying, free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. We'll turn it back over to Pace High School and Mr. Keith Place. Make sure when you're in your car, you rewind some of those words that Pastor said, because it'll hit you a little harder once you get it. Thank you, Pastor. It was deep. Well, in closing, I just want to first thank everyone who's here, every single person who thought it not robbery to come down and join us in our annual MLK celebration. Before I go, in order to stay in the house, you got to take care of the lady of the house. I want to thank Weatherly Frias, our city clerk, for the wonderful decorations, the program, as well as her office who helped out. So thank you. I want to take this opportunity also to thank the mayor and the city council for allowing me to continue to lead this MLK celebration. Keith Place, there's not enough I can say. Not enough. One text, one phone call, you get it done. Thank you. Year after year. So please give Mr. Place. There's some behind the scenes people who aren't here. Sheila Woodson, please give her a round of applause. Evelyn T. Robinson, she's somewhere streaming. And I'm saving a certain group for last, but I also want to thank Pastor. Pastor, I know you're about to start a new journey. You're a young man, you can handle it. You got a long way to go. But we want to thank you. I said it earlier, we want to thank you for everything that you have done. There hasn't been a time, whether it's been an organization I belong to, city, or whatever, that we called and you didn't open your doors for us. I want to say thank you. Okay? We also want to thank Eric Hines from School 10. He couldn't be here. He caught COVID, but he did practice, and he didn't feel he was totally prepared. So let's give Eric a round of applause. And last but not least, I want to thank Pace High School, not university, Pace High School. You guys are phenomenal. And
please make sure you guys get some business cards made because you should be hired at someone's wedding, someone's anniversary or something. Fantastic job. And we know there's a high correlation between performing arts and academics. Already know where your grades are. So keep up the good work and thank you for participating. All right. At this time, we need to turn the gavel back over to our council president.
Thank you, Councilman Love. At this point, we'd like to turn to our mayor for an update on the community. Following the mayor's comments, we'll ask for a response from members of the council, and at that point, go into short break so that we can have a public hearing. Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. However, I noticed the presence of our Congressman Bill Pascrell, who's here with his wife, Mrs. Pascrell, and I'm not sure if he had a presentation or if he had some words, but I would ask, with the council's indulgence and the council president, if our congressman could be given the opportunity to say a few words regarding the ceremony.
The council would be honored.
Thank you, Council. Congressman. Come right here to the podium.
Nice tie,
Good
back,
evening, everybody.
Congressman. Nice tie.
It's always a pleasure to come to Passaic. I always leave better than I came. I mean that. So Councilman Love, great job tonight.
Thank you.
President, Chair, young mayor, Dr. Laura, he likes when I say that. Administrator, all of our council. I'll leave you a quick point. In 1954, there was an author, Pastor, and I don't know if you read his book, Ralph Ellison, The Invisible Man. I recommend that. Anybody ever read that book here? Interesting. Not many people read it, but it had an indelible mark on my soul after I did read it. We've read a lot of civil rights books, books about racial tension. Ralph Ellison summed it up in that book, The Invisible Man. We talked about people who were looked at but never seen. So the whole issue of civil rights, to me, the whole issue of voting rights, to me, comes down to whether we want to recognize everyone or whether we want to look at some and say, I don't see anybody. Simple to the point. Thank you, Passaic. Thanks to the mayor, to the council. Bringing in our young people. How can we not have hope in the future when we hear these folks play their instruments and sing with their vocal cords? How can we not have hope for the future? To the parents, to the loved ones, to the guardians of our children. I'm very hopeful. I was born hopeful. Because if you're not hopeful, it's tough to get up in the morning. So we always think that the next day is going to be better. We honor Martin Luther King because he shaped us. He gave us vibrations in our body about what our specific responsibilities are. We are not invisible. We are all equal. And whether you're talking about voting or whether you're talking about voting rights or you're talking about human rights, we are all equal. If you don't want to accept that, you got a problem. I suggest you pray. Thank you, Pastor. I suggest you pray. And the human problems that we get caught up with and we trip over are small compared to the big ones, which we never want to face. This is a beautiful city. This is a city of beautiful people.
That's right.
A lot of differences here. So what? There's something that makes us all common to one another. Thank you, Passaic, for recognizing the great leader Martin Luther King. I'm honored to be here tonight, and I'm leaving Passaic happier than I got here. Thank you.
It is typical before council meetings go into the agenda that I give an update to the community. They're usually lengthy, many details, and I try to the best of my ability to convey the plans and future initiatives with the appropriate enthusiasm, as I am always excited to work with my colleagues to see our city progress. But I will admit to you that for the last couple of days, I have not quite been myself. The loss of our sheriff has impacted me deeply. I'll admit that publicly. I believe it has given us perspective, so much so to reflect upon relationships and those things that are so important. So my update won't be long today. I am so grateful to Councilman Dr. Terrence Love, to the students of PACE and future attendees of PACE University, to Mr. Place, who rhymes with PACE, to the Board of Education commissioners, to all of the community leaders, to that remarkably inspiring dance by the Shire that lifted up our spirits, brought us closer to the Lord, to the poignant and deeply profound words of Reverend Hagler, who reminds us of the need to remain united, to reject division and segregation, to reject the winds of the times, this cancel culture that makes us forget that we are human, that we are flawed. For those of us driven by faith, that we place that faith on a perfect God, and that we understand that He is perfect and we are not. I am considering my very first exposure to Dr. Martin Luther King. It was at Miss Harvey, school number 7. I was born and raised there in Myrtles Ave. Going into the school, kindergarten, we got to play certain leaders and heroes, and I got to be Dr. Martin Luther King. So excited that I had a line, I have a dream, staying up late, practicing it over and over before my mother, who could barely speak English. And I wanted to get it perfect. And in the morning when I came up with my little sign and the string around the sign that identified who you are, I came up and screamed to the top of my lungs, "I have a dream," a little kid. I was just happy I got the line right. Everybody laughed somewhat. That was my first getting exposed further as I got older. I remember a particular episode of a show that some of our students may not remember, but others will, The Jeffersons, where there was an episode where George had went back to his home. It was empty, down, and it was when Dr. King was killed. He was in there with Lionel, his son. And I remember he got so angry at the news, he picked up a chair and threw it through the window of the building. I don't know if any of you remember that specific episode. And I remember not understanding, but feeling anger. Anger at what was being portrayed through the television, this loss of this remarkable leader. As I got older, I studied Dr. King, along with so many other civil rights leaders, and thought of him as a giant, a hero, a perfect man. And it wasn't until I became an adult and a man that I realized that did not do him justice. See, to look at people through these lenses, they are perfect. They are without challenge, without flaw. It's to do a disservice to what they truly mean. I realized as an adult that what made Dr. King so remarkable is that he was just like us. A man who dealt with issues in his home, a man who was rejected. We often forget that he wasn't the beloved Dr. King in his time. He was wrongly investigated, maligned, lied about. They tried to stop his ministry. They saw him as a threat, as a divider. Picture that. The man we celebrate today at that time was looked at as a divider. They hyper-scrutinized every aspect of his life to hopefully expose something that would discredit his message. What most stood out as an adult to me, especially when I consider so many officials, those in uniform and those out, those who hold political office, those who are educators, and those who are professionals, and those who take the pulpit, that we end up living this life trying to portray perfection because that's the expectation, but it is not perfect people that make a difference. It is imperfect people that are so stirred up in their souls, so unable to cope with the injustices of the day, so unwilling to lay back or sit down when it's time to rise and fight. It is imperfect people who go home and argue. It is imperfect people that slip up with their words or react with a temper because they're made of flesh and blood, or people who, if you just watch them long enough, you will see just how human they are. Individuals like this that decide, I may not be perfect, but I can do something. People who join with other imperfect people and make a difference. And today, we celebrate the legacy of an accomplished man, no doubt, of a most gifted and anointed servant of the Most High God, definitely, of an educated mentor and leader and an example for all people of all races, of all backgrounds, of all distinctions. But I would propose to those here that what should stay with us always is to remember that there is no one perfect but God, but perfection is not a requisite to stand up and make a difference. That our ancestors weren't perfect when they stood up courageously and fought against circumstances that were well beyond them, with hopes and dreams and visions of days like today, where young people would be able to freely express their art and their talent and their beautiful minds without the fear of persecution. Days that those looked forward to, where individuals of different races, backgrounds, religious beliefs would sit together on a dais and serve people in political office. That is a sobering thought to me. It is sobering to me that a man who was imperfect could rise to become a national figure. A man that was hated by some in his time can be so universally beloved in our time. And perhaps that could inspire us to always remember, just because the people around us don't like what we're doing now doesn't make us wrong. That sometimes right means that you're going to be treated wrong. That sometimes standing firm on your conviction, keeping your word and doing what's right will make people uncomfortable and say, stop it. Just let us do whatever we want because it doesn't matter. But it has to matter. Maybe not for the day, perhaps for the day, and we don't see the results, but it must matter for the future and for the children and for the examples it gives. So again, Dr. Love, esteemed colleagues of the City Council, amazing and remarkable youth, appointed leaders, commissioners, and to the remarkable Reverend Hagler, who I share that among the many losses that we have experienced this year. I'm glad that you will move on to great things because you have a great calling. But I confess publicly that I will miss your presence here. I will miss being able to call you and bother you or joke with you or go back and forth about what's going on in the area. I thank you for your service and your heart and for your willingness to be a truth teller in a day that we celebrate liars and dividers, gossipers, where those people get the most likes on social media, where a truth makes it halfway around the world, or rather a lie makes it halfway around the world before the truth can make it out the front door. Right. I thank you, Reverend Hagel, for being willing to be someone that will tell the truth no matter how people take it. God bless you. My report will have one event that'll touch upon where I started. We celebrated an event that every year Sheriff Burnett was a part of, 3 Kings, to give out toys to children and families. I was fond of always calling him the ubiquitous sheriff because he made an effort to be everywhere, from West Milford, Ringwood, Bloomingdale, and Heldon, and Hawthorne, and Patterson, and Clifton, and Passaic. I don't know the circumstances that resulted in why he is no longer with us. I would hope to the Lord that he could hear this expression of gratitude. I want to thank this man who I spoke to weekly, who I got to know, who was not perfect, but kept to his commitment and word to serve. And every time we called him, whether dealing with heightened, threatened alerts or hate crimes or concerns of the community, he showed up, provided resources, and met with our people. And today he is not with us anymore, so our prayers, our thoughts, and our support go out to his family. And to all of you, community of Passaic, thank you for once again coming out for this most important ceremony where we never forget the amazing legacy and the impact that is made by those who choose to stand up, speak up, and do what's right. Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is a public hearing, Green Acres funding. I know there needs to be some modifications made to the room, so we will reconvene in approximately 10 minutes. For its business session, if you could please have a seat, or if you're in conversation, please have that outside of the halls. At this point, if I can ask for a motion to reconvene, please. Motion and second. Roll call to reconvene.
Councilman Monk? Councilman Love?
Present.
Councilwoman Mello?
Present.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia? Councilwoman Colon Montañez? Present. And Council President Scher.
Present. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're first joining us now or have not yet had the opportunity, you can get on the city's website and get a copy of all the material that the council received for this meeting from the administration. That includes background and resolutions, ordinances, and communications that come to us. If you would like to, please get on that website. It will help direct what we're going to be doing in the next few minutes. We're up to Roman numeral 5 on our agenda this evening. Green Acres Grant Programs public hearing is required. Notice published in the January 12, 2024 newspaper or posted on the City of Passaic website on January 9, 2024. The purpose of the hearing is to obtain public comment and park development grant application to be submitted to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Urban Parks and Green Acres Program. The city of Passaic is seeking funds for the improvements to Colonel Johnson Park, located at 190 Harrison Street, Passaic, New Jersey, situated on Harrison Street between Van Winkle Avenue and Hope Avenue. The city of Passaic proposes to create the following new facilities at Colonel Johnson Park: installation of new spray pad, bicycle racks, new park benches, rain gardens, along with low points, and to revitalize the park's cracked surfaces. The purpose of the hearing is to obtain public comment on park development grant application to be submitted to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Green Acres Program. The city is seeking funding for improvements at Colonel Johnson Park, located at 190 Harrison Street, Passaic, New Jersey, situated on Harrison Street between Van Winkle Avenue and Hope Avenue. The city of Passaic proposes to create the following new facilities at Colonel Johnson Park: installation of new spray pad, bicycle racks, new park benches, rain gardens, along with low points, trees, recycling systems to reduce water consumption and waste to revitalize the park's cracked surfaces. This is a public hearing. We invite anyone who would like to address the council on this issue and this issue only, which is the proposed action to be taken at Colonel Johnson Park. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this issue only?
Good evening. Joe Conoscenti, 170 Broadway. 190 Harrison Street, Colonel Johnson Park. I'm glad it's being done because the reason is that used to be a hangout for gang members. If you guys know from the past, maybe 5 years, a lot of calls down there and a lot of cleanup down there. So this would be good for that.
Mr.
area.
Conoscenti, it's difficult to hear you, sir. Could you speak a bit louder?
Upgrade the system. Yes, my question was that park, Colonel Johnson Park on Harrison Street, used to be known for gang members until it got cleaned up. So this would be the best thing for that park. My really reason on this tonight is there used to be a plaque of Colonel Johnson. I don't know what happened to it. We brought it up several times in the past. So consider you're going to be doing this project, which I know is going to go through. I'm asking for a new plaque to be put up of Colonel Johnson. Keep the name Colonel Johnson. You can make it Splash Park, whatever park you want to make it, but keep it Colonel Johnson's Park. That's what I'm asking. That's my question.
We hear your comments, sir. Thank you. I'm informed that I messed things up, which is a common experience. Mr. Fernandez, can you rescue me, please?
Never. It was just, I think it would be helpful if we went through the slides so that everyone can see what it is that exactly what we're doing. Right now, as we're presenting it today, there is no intention of changing the name of Colonel Johnson, as the last speaker had a question on. So just real quickly, the reason that we had to read the public notice twice is because it's Green Acres breaks the programs up into two different funding sources: urban parks and then the Green Acres program, and one offsets the other. So if we don't have enough in urban parks, they'll then do it on the Green Acres program. And that is why the council president read it twice, and why it says New Jersey DEP Urban Parks and Green Acres public hearing. As you heard read, that this is some of the improvements is a splash pad. I have to tell you that that's the biggest understatement that you can ever hear made about a splash pad. The mayor, I see the mayor walking in, and he caught me in perfect timing. It's like he knew I was going to say that this all came, quite frankly, from a discussion that the mayor had with us, and his vision for the changing of the park. So without further ado, I will continue moving on. Obviously, this came from the mayor's vision, and with the council support this evening, we're able to put in this application for this momentous park because, Mayor, I think we looked around our entire area. I don't think there's a single park in municipalities like us that is entirely a water park.
This would be the very first complete water park. Now, some may ask, and I'm not sure if you brought it up, Business Administrator, why the idea? And the reason why I came up with the idea of having a water park in the area is I realized that we don't have a park in that area conducive for our littlest kids. We have basketball courts around the area, even in that same area. But many of our children cannot afford to take these summer trips to Disney World or water parks. And to have the opportunity, and look, I grew up with the fire hydrant being turned on or the firefighter's hose going on, but this would be the very first park with a complete water park, which may beg the question, what happens when it's not summer? Well, here's the thing, because of the equipment that we're ordering or looking to order, did you touch on that yet?
No, I haven't. I was just literally starting on the.
When the water's turned off, the slides are still there. The climbing aspect of the boat, which we're sort of jokingly referring to our own Pirates of the Caribbean park, but picture kids coming from all over to get on the boats, the water shooting out the side of the boats, around the boats, the slides, having little tables for the parents, making it conducive for smaller children. You know, sometimes we mix both of the parks together. We'll have games and activities for older children and smaller children. But with a small area like this, it's not always conducive because those of us who grew up in the area, you know, that when older kids are playing, sometimes the interactions are a little different and not the best for the smaller kids. But to have a park that's fully for our youngest kids, 12 and under. Not to say that we can't picture 15 and 16-year-olds or
I want to jump on the ship, man.
Dr. Love and Councilman Schwartz taking the slide down
Somebody has to watch
while
the
the
kids.
water's on, right?
Somebody has to watch the kids.
But that's the hope. When you consider the proximity to our elementary schools, you consider how close it is to school number 10. When you consider how close it is to the Dayton Avenue complex, to school number 9, to some of our parochial schools in the area, we think that it will really benefit the community. And then when you consider the small businesses in the area, if kids and parents are coming there for the water park, they're going to shop in the area. They're going to stop by the local store on Harrison or go around the corner to Fortaleza, maybe grab something to eat or a sandwich on the corner store. So we look forward to the potential of having this application approved and receiving the funding to once again have a unique recreation opportunity in our city. It's actually made national news over the last couple of weeks because of the excitement and potential of a complete water park in our urban city of Passaic.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know how I'm going to follow that, but I can tell you that up on the screen is kind of the concept that the mayor has been talking about. Again, it is a concept. Obviously, things are fluid, but some of the discussions, if you look at the left-hand part of the map, you'll see that big boat. We were having discussions and joking around about the other area a little bit right of that boat is maybe another mini boat with maybe some water features that can shoot at each other and play a little bit of the pirate games. As we're talking about, there's other areas as you start coming down towards Harrison for even smaller children to be safe and protected. I think everybody knows the mayor is always looking at the ability for parents to be able to watch their children in a safe environment without them being able to run off.
And rubberized surface. That's been the approach over the past 6 years to convert the surfaces of our playgrounds to rubberized surface. It becomes more conducive for children with special needs and children not to be hurt in terms of play. But I do want to demonstrate something that the business administrator is speaking. This is something that we've been strategically doing in all of our parks. As you can see, this would be the entrance or my shadow. And the tables are strategically placed for parents and families closer to the entrance and exit because as a father of 4 children, 2 with special needs, one of my biggest concerns, and my wife as well when we go to the park, is that our children run out. When you're sitting at the end, in many of the parks used to have the benches in the back, in the entrance in the front. So you would see parents running out to get their child who ran out the entrance. What we're doing is making sure that all of the chairs or all of the picnic tables are at the entrances of the parks and the equipment behind, in order for parents to keep an eye on their children. So in order for a child to leave, they have to literally pass their parents. So we're looking to incorporate more inclusive equipment that is important for children with special needs, children with certain developmental challenges, and we're extremely excited about this application. But I wanted to know, this would be where the second boat would be, and then the water would be shooting out of the boat, around the boat, up and over the boat. So it would be a water-themed park for our residents.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So, as part of the process, these are the improvements. As you can see, kind of a concept of the boat, or multiple boats of different sizes that we're talking about. This is just a few of the improvements that were shown in the concept plan. So, to say that we got to this point without including the public would be completely the opposite. And multiple events, multiple forms of media and outreach were taken as we were preparing these plans to share with you this evening. As you can see, notices were posted both in English and in Spanish all the way back since January 9th. And on January 12th, these are the notices that were put on the newspapers multiple times, one on the 9th, one on the 12th. But that we could have stopped right there, right? Now, I know many of you would say, in the past administrations might have just left it there, but I think all of you know that our mayor and his complete focus on making sure that the community has the information they need. So we did not stop there. We went to so many forms of community engagement to make sure that everyone's voice was heard. There were surveys that were put out. So at this point, I'd like to just take a moment of privilege and thank all the employees from the Recreation Department, from administration, and all others that volunteered helping us put these surveys together and going out into the community to get the responses, which, if you be a little patient with me, we're going to show you kind of what the outcome was of those surveys. Here is the survey that was put out again. In fact, if you go outside right now, on the reception desk, you will find the survey, because we were even putting it out for everyone who came into City Hall to be able to take the survey. It was put on our website, so you could take it virtually, you could take it on paper. And then we took it to community events. So these are just some examples. There it is in City Hall. In fact, the desk right outside, you can go ahead and see it. Here's in one of the schools and one of the events on the bottom. It was posted even on our monitors outside. Here's a list. It was all recreational activities. We're talking about soccer. We're talking about volleyball. We're talking about young, old, adult leagues, that we put this out and shared this information to get community input. Again, we could have just stopped at the public notices and it would have been sufficient, but I think we all know that's not the direction any of us received. So here are the results that we received. When we talked about the current conditions, that as the mayor was speaking and right before the concept plan, you saw the current conditions, which left a lot to be desired. 80% of all the respondents said that the park needed some help. As we started talking about the renovations and the support for renovations, as you can see, a large majority were very likely about putting a renovation of the park together. So now we started getting into more specifics about the park, okay? And the features about the park. So the splash pad received the highest number of votes, along with inclusive equipment, sensory play areas, and interactive water features. And I think you know, based on the mayor's presentation of the concept plan, we have incorporated every single one of those items as part of this project. And I apologize, I'm new to glasses and the screen is very little here. Increased family-friendly activities was 72% of the project. one of the main things that the mayor told us in these meetings was about the diversity of usage in the park of all ages, including parents, right? Being able to enjoy your time there for children that you may have multiple children at many different ages that can enjoy the park. So this is most definitely a friendly, family-friendly activity. Improved community engagement. I think any of you that have been around here for a long time and have sat with us, we went above and beyond to make sure that the community's voices were heard as we went through this project. Attracting more visitors. Obviously, we want them to stay, enjoy. We made national news so that maybe you can call your cousin from another town or a family member or friend to come down and visit and see this new project. Having positive impact on property values. Well, when you're redoing a park and you're there with children, there are two main things that raise property values besides obviously the condition of the home. Those two things are schooling, the level of your education, and activities for the youth to participate in. And I'm happy to say that we have that in abundance here. Here we have, based on what the proposals were and what the responses were, in your opinion, would the renovation of Colonel Johnson Park enhance the overall appeal for the people of different age groups in our community? And it was a resounding 93.1% of the respondents said this project would. The next question was, how important do you think it is for Colonel Johnson Park to incorporate climate resilient features to withstand extreme weather events and promote environmental sustainability? And when you look at it, the very important made up almost 80% of the responses. We are so excited to share this with you today. Probably none more than the mayor, as you can see, the excitement we have for this project. At this point, Council President, if there are any questions.
Can you address the issue of what these funds will be? Are these loans, grants?
So this is grant funding, and I'm happy to report that they began this practice last year, that any successful applicant, right, because this is an application, this is to get us for the state to review it and give us the funding. There is no longer a municipal match, where in the past we would have to pay 25% of the cost of the project. Starting last year with the projects that we did in Pulaski Park Extension, which are hopefully we're going to start constructing this summer, we did not have to put a match. So this is fully funded by the grant funding from the state of New Jersey's Green Acres and Urban Parks program.
If this issue should be passed, does it preclude us from getting additional funds from Green Acres or the department?
I think it depends on the project. So recently there is a requirement that you finish out projects before you apply for new ones. But outside of us not finishing out a project, there is no limit to how many times we can apply for funds. But there is, I guess, an approach by the state of how many times they'll give it to us. And then we have to rely on potentially having an assemblyman who lives in Passaic in the state who might visit an office in person and might knock on the door and say, listen, I was at the council meeting and the city wants more money. But outside of that, there is no limit to how much we can apply for, as long as they're viable projects, they make sense. And it's one of the reasons why we look for unique projects. Oftentimes the community or residents will say, well, why not just have this field or this court? And we go, it's not competitive. See, the state looks at unique projects, or they're going to give the money somewhere else. I mean, someone will look at it and say, why a synthetic ice skating rink? Go, because if we would have applied for a basketball court, they weren't going to give us the money. They would have given it to whatever city came up with the most unique project. It isn't money we lost. It's money we just wouldn't get, but not money that we have. So when we come up with unique ideas to provide creative amenities for our residents, it makes our application just a little bit more appealing, especially when we explain that it provides opportunities in densely populated areas, especially where individuals have less access to vehicles and can't drive to the parks, but can walk. And when we consider, and we say it often, summer break, and families that can't afford either to sign their children up for a program or to sign their children up to a camp or to take them on trips, the idea that there would be a park where families can go and then have the summer experience, it makes for a compelling argument before the state in terms of our application.
Were there any downsides that were shared with the administration in terms of this
With
proposal?
all initiatives or plans, people get accustomed to what you already have. So that you want to renovate, sometimes you'll get family members go, why not just paint the swings, put a net on the basketball court, add a couple benches, and we'll be okay. And the truth is, we could do that, but we would be doing a disservice to the community. So what occurs, and sometimes it's a legitimate pushback, individuals will be opposed to the plan and say, well, where would the kids play basketball? And we'll say, we have many parks. School number 8, we have multiple basketball courts that we have renovated. School number 11, there's a basketball court that was put up right at school number 10 around the corner. But we're looking to create park opportunities for a broader range of children. And we know that water and splash parks, like when you go by school number 11 and you see the splash park right on Myrtle, there are many kids that could play at the same time while parents are around. If you go to Third Ward Memorial Park by Broadway, the water splash area can accommodate a lot more children than perhaps just one amenity. So we present it, but the pushback, Council President, members of the City Council, is, we'll like it if it's done, but we know what we have right now. We definitely received a lot of feedback saying that they believe the enhancements to the project would be a benefit to the community. But again, I'll reiterate, anytime you want to present something new that has not existed before, you get a little bit of reservation, and as elected officials, we understand that. We expect it, but we're hoping that if we get this application approved, that the addition to that park and the unique aspects of the recreation opportunities that will be developed will be embraced by the community as a whole, because it's not just for that area, First Ward or Fourth Ward nearby, but for anyone who wants to come from any of the other wards, as often children travel around the city for activities.
Good, thank you. Members of the council?
Yes, I have. Just first a comment, and I think my fellow parents and grandparents will appreciate this. I think it's a great concept because when you have water park as well as activities, right, swings and things, you're fighting with the kids to do one or the other. You're changing them back and forth. As soon as you change them one time, they want to get wet again and go all over the place. And anybody, I mean, if I'm wrong, you tell me. And I think having something like this will kind of alleviate parents, right? And particularly parents who have multiple children, because when you have one or two that, you can raise your voice and they listen to, rather than 4 or 5, right, who's not going to listen to anyone, it can make for a long day. So I want to appreciate you guys taking that into consideration. The second thing is, as we're going to claim this, right? We're going to receive the funds. What is the time frame? How long will it take for something like this to be done?
In terms of putting it out to bid, I think
next summer, maybe the bid.
about a year from when we receive the funds and actually put out to bid. So we would say by next summer. You can see it. We saw how quick Dundee Island occurred. Once we received the funds, the bids were accepted. The problem is the process before that.
Yes.
So dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and sometimes we'll receive a portion of the fund with conditions and contingent upon whatever they add to it. But once we receive the funds and they've been allocated or put aside, they're encumbered for just that project, it takes about a year's time once we award it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for living outside the box and really thinking about the residents and the children, because we understand the makeup of our city. Like, as you constantly mention, a lot of parents don't have the funds to take their kids out in the summer when they're home. So this is definitely an opportunity for parents to to relax and bring their kids to enjoy themselves. We know growing up what we went through. Our parents couldn't take us many places. We were just bound to a regular park. But now that we have this, this is going to be awesome for our city and for our children, because they're seeing the progress. They're seeing that, we're thinking about them for the future so they can enjoy and live in Passaic proudly and say, yes, I am from Passaic. So thank you again.
And I appreciate that, Councilwoman. I want to take the opportunity to highlight our business administrator, Rick Fernandez, and our engineer, Yasin, who's here present with members of the engineering department, because the face he gave me when I said, can we do 2 boats with water shooting out? And he goes, two boats? Are they moving? What's going on? And he came back with a couple of renderings, and I'm going, no, boats, like a water park. But we were having fun in our meetings as we were throwing ideas out and got this wonderful design. And we're very excited about the potential for the funding and unique opportunities for the kids of our city.
Any other questions from the council?
This looks like a great project. There's a lot of creativity here, and it's going to really make a really big impact on the area. Did you have any guess at the budget for this item? But I mean, it's grant money, so it doesn't, so that's great.
Yes, so the maximum grant amount is $1.9 million.
And we
want
we're gonna-
$1.9 million worth of it.
In true form.
So that's what we did.
That's a lot of doors to knock on, Assemblyman. But we are hoping that if we get additional funds, we can explore charging stations, because we know those have become extremely important, where parents or children doing their homework maybe at some of the picnic tables can charge their phones or their devices. But we are going to apply for every cent.
Fabulous.
One more question.
Believe it or not, I'm not a big talker. But while you're talking and while you guys are expecting and telling us about the park, I'm just smiling like if I'm going there. Maybe I'll babysit more of my grandkids, but because I have somewhere to go. Right now, before, like she was saying, when my kids were younger, we would go to the park with pizza, and what would they do? They come back with big scrapes because there's cement or whatever, and crying, and we go home or whatever. But thank you. I'm honored to be here and to be a part of all this.
Councilwoman, you brought up an interesting point. Where it's located is in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Literally, there are houses on both sides of the park and behind. So that's an additional, we believe, benefit where parents can go right to the water park while you're looking right at them. Because some of the concerns for parents, especially when they come home from work, is the idea of I have to go drive to the park now. But the proximity in such a densely populated area would make it so beneficial for grandparents and parents to say, just go right to the park across the street or right next door, and you can look out the window and see them play. That's a great point.
I assume that there'll be extraordinarily high land pitch, lots of lights.
Yes, and that always comes with our improvements to the parks. Lights, you're correct, Council President, becomes one of the #1 requests because it enhances safety. Obviously, it ensures overnight that there's greater surveillance for our police, more visibility, and it's just a benefit to the neighborhood as a whole. The more lit a neighborhood is, the safer it is.
Good. Thank you, sir.
I'd just like to say one comment. Councilwoman Mello says, go to a regular park. I promise you, this is gonna be the farthest thing from a regular park.
You might not be left with any more regular parks.
I don't think we're gonna be left with many that you can say are just regular parks.
Now, like
And-
Councilwoman Cologne mentioned, I mean, going to the park, we just come home with scrapes and knees.
And
That's, I mean, it was fun, but now.
So it's funny she said that because immediately I lived around the block on Lexington and I would go to this park and I think there wasn't a time I didn't come home with some sort of scrape where my mom was like, what are you doing over there? Anyway, I just thought I'd make that.
Councilman Lowe.
Yeah, just one other question. In terms of the funding, do they allocate or allow or have allowance for money to be put aside for maintenance and upkeep, or you have to spend it?
No, you have to spend it for the project.
For the project itself. Okay, thank you.
I think what's beneficial, additionally beneficial, is there's already existing pipe under this park. So some of the investment will be more focused on the equipment. Maybe there's a little bit of infrastructure, but a lot of it will be maintained by our recreation department, no different than the other parks.
Will there be lavatories?
If we can convince an assemblyman from the state to get 1.9 million, to say instead of 1.6, how about 1.9? We can definitely look at it. No, but it's a good question because it's a water park. You know, the one on Third Ward in Broadway, there's a bathroom in proximity to it, and that's extremely important when children are playing with water. As much as all of us scream, stop drinking that because you're not supposed to. There's a need to use the bathroom. We are looking at it, but it is significant money to add bathrooms. So we want to make sure that we can get the funding and then perhaps explore. Right now, there are no bathrooms. The enhancement of the park is a priority. Any additional funds, if perhaps we can move a few things around and create a bathroom, we're definitely open to it.
Excellent. Excellent. Good. Thank you, Mayor. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this issue and this issue only? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council President, council members, and Mayor Laura. Just wanted to.
If we can have your name for the
I'm
record.
sorry. It's Louis. I'm not used to being on this side. Louis Daniel Rodriguez, 489 Broadway in the great city of Passaic. As I look at this as a kid that grew up in that area, over on Van Buren and Jackson, and went to school at number 10 school, I look back and I remember that area, and it wasn't somewhere that you really wanted to go to. I mean, to tell you the truth, anybody that grew up in the 80s and 90s know that even during the day, you're like, your parents are like, you're not going there. Why are you there? Right? To see the evolution of that park over the years is beautiful to see. And I agree, it's time for facelift, and it's time for the idea, the creative that Mayor Laura and his administration have come up with. Adding to that park and making it something special, unique, that our kids can really enjoy, and from all over the city. Because one of the things that we talked about was unity, right? The pastor today, and I really like the message of that. It goes all not just for that ward or that area, but kids from throughout the city can go and enjoy their time there. Again, I remember fondly living in that area, and grandparents living on Van Winkle. To see it and to see what it's going to be, because we have an assemblyman that's going to get us more money.
Yeah. With the bathroom.
Right?
With the bathroom.
No pressure.
No pressure. But to see that is so beautiful. And the only thing I wish sometimes I know Mayor Laura for a little bit of time now. I look at the stuff now and I'm like, why couldn't my parents have me a little later in life so I would be able to enjoy some of these things? Because growing up, there's a lot of things that we didn't enjoy. So I really appreciate seeing the ideas, and seeing where we're going with this, not only this park, but the rest of the parks in the city. Thank you. Kudos.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address the council?
Dr. Edwin Garcia, 65 Blaine Street. I was listening to everybody speak, and one of the things that dawned on me was that how many high school students, as a high school assistant principal at the high school, a lot of our students take care of their little brothers and sisters. And I've had plenty of conversations with them, and they're home all day. I got to take care of my brother and sister. Mm-hmm. Why don't you go out to the park? I don't want to go to the kiddie park. This is something that I feel like that might be a little cooler for them to go and hang out with their little brother and sister, because oftentimes the smaller park and where the big kids normally play, they're too far separated. It makes it difficult for them to go hang out and enjoy the time. And I think that this is one of those areas. It's a big difference between I'm going to the kiddie park and I'm going to the water park when you're going to talk to your friends about what you're doing after school today. So I just wanted to bring that up. I think it's going to be beneficial too for our teenagers who usually take care of their siblings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Renee Griggs, 23 Ashland Place, apartment 60. Where was this 30 years ago when my cousin between the four women, we had 13 kids. We would have had a good time down there. I think this is a good move for the city. It's very enjoyable, and I'm glad that we are doing something that's keeping on trend with the big water park and theme parks where kids cannot, in some incidents, afford to go with the boats and stuff like that. And like I said, I'm a little upset. It should have been here 30 years ago.
Good evening. Parker Joseph Brown Jr. from 247 Summer Street. I'm glad that we actually had a chance to present an image to what the park was going to actually look like, because I got a chance to go through the file, the estimates, the engineering estimate, right? And I'm just staring at numbers, and I'm like, $460,000. Good Lord, that's a lot of money. I was really looking around here. I said, I'm in the wrong line of work. But as I see it, I really did. I'm doing the wrong thing. But as I look at it and I see it, and I filled out that survey myself, right? And it was a lot of questions in there. Multiple choice. Reminded me of being in high school a little bit. Multiple choice. Something that the pastor said before about unity struck me, right? And I had a whole thing written. That's not me, right? No. I had a whole thing written, and the Spirit is moving me in a different direction, right? I asked him a question. I said, how can you have unity without truth?
No, without this one.
And not just truth, but transparency. When I filled out that survey, it was very limited to the way that I was allowed to answer it. So when I came and I saw that beautiful presentation, which I appreciate a good presentation. That's my company, like my company does production. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, they put some time into that. I like that. Numbers don't lie. But when you ask questions in the manner to which they were asked, you're limiting the input that the community can get. So my question that I want to lead with is the decision already made and we're just here for the formality part of it? Or is the community actively being able to speak about what that park would look like? Because I walked through it earlier today, and yeah, it needs something got to be done to it. I almost tripped over some of the, what do we call that, cobblestone? I think that's called cobblestone, right? That's what we call that brick stuff, cobblestone. We don't call it that. And then I went all the way back to the basketball court, and I'm looking at the metal gate, and I'm looking at this tree that's just, there's a tree in the middle, there's a tree over here. So I'm wondering, also with the items that I saw in here, I saw in line 30, the landscaping, forget how much is in there, right? What they're talking about is the installation of landscaping. But then when I saw that picture, I was like, where's the grass? I didn't see landscaping. I saw what padded, we're doing padding, not asphalt. So
rain gardens.
We're removing the grass and all the dirt and things from there. Because the picture it was up there for a second and I can't look at it again, so I'm a little confused.
I believe, sir, that's landscaping in today's definition.
Yeah.
So
Landscaping would be.
They're going to put the picture back on.
Thank you.
If I may ask to your question, and I'm not sure if you're done with the questions in order to answer.
That was beautiful.
So I think you raise a very important point, especially when it comes to surveys. So I want to be detailed in trying to explain our approach. Funds are limited as to what you can use the funds for. We have an extremely creative community. Now, if you indulge me a bit, if I was to go home and ask my family, what do you want in the backyard? Give me a range of options. We want a roller coaster. Well, we can't do a roller coaster in the backyard. We don't have the space for it. The funding is not practical. If I go home and say, listen, we can get a pool or we can put up a court, because that's what funding and the space would allow for. Now, it's a bit of a flawed analogy, but I want to be clear. When you're going after green acre funds, when you're going after open space funds for recreation, you understand that there's limited funds in our community, and it's happened, many of you will be familiar. If we say, what kind of recreation would you like us to build? 9 out of 10 responses would be, we want a pool, city pool. That comes up a lot. A pool is not practical. It's not practical to dig a pool in the city. We couldn't apply for the money for the pool, the liability in terms of maintaining the insurance, The who's going to be around, it's the reason staffing, it doesn't work. So when we tailor the questions, it isn't to limit the opportunities to speak, it's to try to strategically guide people to what the funding are available for. So if there's funding available for an amenity that can range from swings to slides to potential inclusive equipment, because that's where the funding really is going now, with New Jersey having the highest rate of children born on the spectrum with autism. Inclusive equipment becomes extremely appealing for the application, that if we were to leave open, just whatever you want, it wouldn't be practical for us to show the survey responses in order to get the application approved. So to the best of our ability, we place the options before the municipality that we can actually go after. So if we know that we can get funding for swings, for a soccer field, for a racetrack, for a water park, then we provide those surveys with those options, A, B, C, D. I think the last way I would describe it, and I hope that I'm doing it justice, is it would be the difference between me going, what color should we paint the council chamber, and being here for 5 hours discussing every single color in the spectrum, or saying, we have 3 paints. We have blue, we have red, and we have white. Which one do we prefer? Someone will say, well, what about all the other colors? We don't have the other colors. We don't have the money to buy the other colors. That when it comes to certain options, and we would love creative options, but we have to be pragmatic in terms of the approach to provide opportunities so that the answers can fit with what's available in terms of the resources or the allocation of funds. So the survey, this is the survey that we're given to provide to the community, because this is what lines for the application. So, and I'll conclude with this. If we're applying for infrastructure funds, we can do bridge, we can do roads, we can do sidewalks, we could do storm drains, use infrastructure for that. But if we simply say, what would you have us do? And people say, well, we want a new park. We're not allowed to use infrastructure funds for that. We're limited in terms of the usage of the funds, so that often will determine how the survey is set. So the options that were given were specific to the applications that were going to be made to the state in terms of the funding that would be made available for the renovations, enhancements, or development of new parks.
Also, to make it a little broader, we also allowed in the public notice, if you see the public notices, if you have any written comments, additional comments to the survey, that you could submit them to our offices for our review. So that was also included as part of it, but I think it's clear why the questions were kind of the way the questions were, as the mayor explained. But there is a comment section that you can, and there's also this evening, if there were any comments, or suggestions.
Okay. No, there was a lot of information in there to unpack, and I understand that.
Was that clear? It was almost, if I may, and I don't want to keep you exempt, but yes, someone could have said we want a mini golf course. It wouldn't have been practical for us to go after that in terms of the amenity and the recreation and the demographics in the area and the proximity to the school. Could we put in that application? I think we could. Would we likely receive funding for it? Not likely. So we try, with the experience that we have, to put in applications based on what they have awarded. Precedent in the past has shown. And these are one of the options. So we try to limit what could go in there so we can make a stronger application.
Just the last question. Every other part was answered. For this particular project, right? Is this the last time that the public is going to be speaking about this, or like is the decision already made about that being the final design? And I think you put good time into this. Very, very, very well done. And articulate. I just wanted to know if this was going to be the last time that we were going to speak about this.
Not speak about it. You're free to speak about it at every council meeting or in any public setting. But in terms of the survey, once the survey is out, because of application deadlines, we're going to take the answers that we have, the percentages, and then we have to submit the application. We don't really have the, and I know what it connotes, but I don't say luxury. We don't really have the liberty to say, we're going to keep reviewing it while the application process is going, because then they can award it to someone else.
That's a yes.
Yeah, no. In terms of your question was specific, can we still speak on me? So let's say we put in this application and they award us to $2 million. And forgive me, I don't want to assume your question. What if after the 2 million, someone comes up with a great idea that can add to this? Could we tweak it a bit? Yes. Could we change a little bit? Yes. So the conversations could keep going. But if your question is specific, are we ready to submit this design in this application? Yes, because it's on deadlines and we put out the surveys, we've met the requirements, we need to put in the application in order to be competitive to receive the fund, or if not, they'll give the fund to someone else who put in their application on time.
Where can I find the information about the Green Acres portion? This is a grant, right?
Yes.
Where can I find the information about the Green Acres portion? Because each grant has its own set of parameters that you must fall into, and this is two separate grants we're applying for, right?
Yes.
But it's under the same umbrella of the Green Acres, which is under the DEP. So if you go to the State Department of Environmental Protection website, it gives you the grant guidelines for both urban parks and the Green Acres program.
I'm gonna be a little annoying with y'all until I get a link on that, because finding things online with the Passaic website is.
So this is the state website.
This is the state website, sir. No, this not the city. This is the state website we're
Yeah,
speaking.
that one's even worse.
I'll pass that down.
I don't disagree.
There goes the grant.
No, I know I'm comical. I understand, but I'm so serious about this. Finding information when you're serious about finding something is a proverbial needle in the haystack. And I don't know about anybody else, but I got a lot of stuff to do. So I don't want to be wasting time. That's why when I asked that question about, I mean, if you're going to submit something and then later on we could talk about it, well, you're moving ahead no matter what is happening. So
Of course, if I may clarify, this design and this concept, it may seem simple. It's not. We have to pay to get it done. So what happens is when individuals, and it's fair to say, hey, I just came up with an idea. And we've spent 6 months with engineers doing viability studies, making sure that the space is conducive for the kind of equipment. Sometimes, and I think input is important, individuals who aren't privy to that process come and say, well, I want to add my ideas, and go, great, but then we would have to start, pay an engineer, do the design, set out surveys, and the application process goes, and we miss the opportunity to get the funding. So I go back to this. When we put it out, and we'll put it out on social media, we'll send it to schools, the presentation by the business administrator, we'll take it to the different schools, we'll go to programs, we'll put it on the website. Inevitably, it always occurs that some people say, I still didn't see it. And because I didn't see it, I would like to start the process over with some ideas. And we go, government can't work that way, because then we would never move forward. It's important for those who are most interested in an area of government. If someone says, I'm really into parks and recreation, to be involved so that at the beginning of the process, that input could come. Because if it comes at the end of the process for preference, not that this is the case, preference, but in general, or something subjective, installing the process will be the difference between us getting the funding or having to leave the park as it is. So yes, of course, we'll give you the link, but please understand that we have the same process every time. It's a public hearing, it's an application process, it's around the same time every year. Council meetings are twice a month, every 2 weeks. Individuals are free to come to City Hall and say, what projects are coming up? Can we be made aware? But often, and not that this is the case, individuals may come to a meeting and say, hey, I'm not familiar with how you came to this decision, and we'll explain. We'll say, well, I want to give my idea. Well, that's great, just not for this application, because we've already paid, got the surveys, went to the community, received the responses. But for other parks, if there are additional ideas, we welcome them because we want the input of the community. But we need it within the time frame in order to do applications, whether in the county or the state.
Let me just add one more point if I might, and that is I don't want you to be going back home and saying that there's some real flexibility in what's being done tonight, and we can make some meaningful and significant change in the proposal. To the best of my knowledge, that is not the case. There can be some cosmetic. Certainly something from a public health point of view would change things around, but this is the proposal that's being given to the state.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address the council on this item and this item only?
Good evening, Sherry Greer, 77 Brook Avenue. I think this is amazing idea. I really do love the whole entire concept, but my question is more geared towards the survey. Is there a total number of how many people had taken the survey? And two, you had mentioned that the survey was given to several schools and certain areas in the city, such as City Hall. I've never received the survey. I know you had mentioned social media. Sometimes I limit my social media. So were there other avenues that the survey was sent to, such as churches, or were they mailed, to broaden survey?
So they were at all the recreational events as well as at the recreational counter. They were on our city website. Flyers were put out. So you don't get one in the mail. That is not something we would do. But each of these flyers that are put out around town, you had a QR code that you could just take a picture from your phone and it automatically took you there. And we put it in the places where most people from the city are likely to come, right? Which is recreation, the recreation program. So that only are the parents there with the children as they're dropping them off or anyone else. And City Hall, which is the center of the government activity within City Hall. But to say that, and just so we're clear, this is way above and beyond any necessary community outreach that the state requires. So we've done every one of the items we could have done, we did all of them, right? Which was the notice, which was the survey, which was going out to activities and showcasing what it is. I don't know if you saw in the pictures, and I'm afraid if I start messing around with this, it'll go back. You'll see that we laid out boards as well as the survey. So it wasn't like you just got a questionnaire and you saw that. So it was put out in as many means that we could to get as much input. And yes, there is a number. Right off the top of my head, I don't know, but it was in the hundreds. It wasn't like 10 people, right? If that's what you're getting at, right? So it was everyone in activities. And not only did we target just small children, it was small children, teenagers, adult programs that the recreation department went to each of these programs. And as people were there, they were literally stopping them and look, we have the board here, and do the survey. So once again, this is at least, well, since the mayor's been here, putting information out well above any of the requirements that are required by the state to put this application together. Quite frankly, having this meeting and putting it out in the newspaper would have sufficed. And that's not what we did.
And in the area where the park is going to be developed, we make an effort to ensure whenever we're doing initiatives, that much like the 100 steps and the fitness park at the top, that the surveys and the information and the notices go out to the immediate area where it will have an impact. We will never be able to cover the majority of the city on any initiative. Recreation initiatives, we definitely use everyone who participates in our recreation department, and every event that we're invited to in terms of the school events, we put them out there. Some events aren't conducive to bring them out, but our goal is to try to get as much input as possible, especially by those that are going to be directly impacted by the initiative. So those on Harrison, those on Van Buren, by Jackson, by number 10 school, by that area, we look to make sure that they have the information, as well as, and I think the business administrator shared on our rec department, but no, there's not a single initiative where we're able to target the wider population, because it's just not practical. It's not required in any municipality to do so.
Okay. And if I can add one thing, going back to the mayor's point, if you want to be included on these surveys, we have a recreation email list, which in this case, and I just got the text from our assistant who was part of the program, 3,800 individuals are on our recreation email blast that were sent the survey as well. So if anybody in the public wants to be made part of it, you can add yourself as part of the email blast and you'll get a direct email. But as you know, we're not allowed to just send emails without your request.
Mrs. Gray is an educator, so I think you're also familiar with, there are times where the schools send things to every book bag home, and parents still go, I didn't see it, or receive it. We often experience the same thing with the rec and the social media and the surveys where someone says, I didn't get it. We sometimes wonder, you didn't get it or it didn't pop out because you're bombarded with so much information from the school. But we try to make every effort, and we'll take any suggestion from the community if they say, hey, why don't you try this next time to try to get a different group or try to send it. I think the faith-based institutions are a good suggestion. And if we can try to add it, especially with the different organizations like the Ministerial Alliance, also the organizations of the churches that meet once a month, City Hall, we share it with them. So there's a meeting every month with different clergies, and we share the information with them, but we'll try to expand to try to cover more of the faith-based institutions.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, as you were saying that, I almost remember having a copy of the flyer for the meeting. We did share with that group of news, but I think adding additional.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on this item only?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion and second to close.
Councilman Monk? Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. Weatherly, how do we proceed here? We've got two resolutions, I believe they'd be considered. We have to do each one separately.
We can do them at the end with the group.
I'm sorry?
We can do them with the group at the end if you would like.
Okay, we can do them at the end.
Mhm.
Okay. Is it all right to go ahead? Yes, we're all right. Okay. We're back on the agenda. Roman numeral 6, please. Minutes of October 24, 2023 City Council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made to the minutes as presented by the clerk? Seeing none, is there a motion, please, to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. We're up to hearing of citizens Roman numeral 7 on our agenda this evening. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-1 et sec, the council opens every public meeting for comments of the public. However, in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12, nothing in this act shall be construed to limit the discretion of the public body to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation at any meeting. Therefore, please be advised that the council will not entertain any comments from persons who communicate obscene material, make statements which are considered bias intimidation, in which a person intends to intimidate an individual or group because of race, color, religion, gender, handicap, sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or makes comments intending to harass or speak any offensive language. The person who makes these statements will relinquish their allotted 5 minutes for public discussion. We look forward to your comments and concerns. Would anyone like to address the council at this time?
Good evening, once again, Renee Griggs from 23 Aspen Place, apartment 6C. First, I just want to say to the mayor, Laura, and his lovely wife, thank you once again for allowing me to use your space on December the 16th to raise funds. I do this program that I give kids who lost their parent or their mother to cancer. Last year I had 12 kids. This year I had 20 kids. So I want to say thank you. Unfortunately, the women are still dying from cancer. It's not a cure. I started this program because I had a full life with my mother, and some of these kids would never have that with their mother. So I make sure that they receive some kind of gift. Some of these kids are getting bold. Now they're telling me what they want for Christmas. And I'm going to say to Council President Scher, so many years ago, I think Teddy Evans was the DPW director, and you had asked him about getting better Christmas ornaments for the city. I'm so glad you stayed on that because our city looks mighty good at Christmas time with the ornaments hanging off the lamps. The light posts and stuff. We are. One year I went through Patterson, they didn't even have any, and Passaic is looking mighty good, and I know that was due to the persistence of you talking about how they were getting discolored, missing pieces. So I just wanted to say it is noted and it is appreciated because I'm involved in a lot of things and I do invite a lot of people to this city, and for them to comment about it makes me feel good too. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, ma'am.
Evening, Ari Mack, 187 Howard Avenue. I'd like to address the city council and the city. On January 16th, the city had a major storm recently, and I spoke to the mayor and several people regarding blocks of ice. My entire street was an ice rink. Two people, unfortunately, on my block was injured. Thank God they're fine. But I literally had to tiptoe across the street. No salt was put down that I remember. And I contacted DPW. The DPW at that time was not in office. I know I'm pretty sure the hours of DPW is 9 to 4, but is there a emergency line to contact when there's emergencies like in this case? Because people contacted the police department even to get the salt trucks out. I contacted them, my neighbors contacted them, and I also contacted the city itself, and nothing happened. And I was very frustrated. And there were numerous cars getting stuck that night, and I was scared to get outside that night. And thank God I was helping out my neighbors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else like to address the council, please?
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Yosef Wolf from 71 Spring Street. I wanted to ask about Resolution 15 tonight. It's an emergency contract, it seems, for retaining wall, $250,000 at the end of Ackerson Street, where it kind of meets the properties on Spring Street. I want to know if that was bid out or that's an emergency that's going without bidding. And I wanted to ask the city, when does it become illegal to park commercial vehicles overnight? I know that they passed a resolution. I wonder when that takes effect and when that officially becomes the law in the city. I also wanted to stress that I know that I heard over, it's not on the record, but I heard over that someone approached one of the council members and he said that there have been a lot of robberies of cars and break-ins of cars, and they don't feel safe. And the member of the council said it would cost a lot of money to bring the safety up another notch. The city's pretty safe, and to make even safer is going to cost a lot of money to the city. And I wanted to stress that I moved from Clifton to Passaic a couple years ago. And when I moved, the rate of my insurance, my car insurance on each of my cars went up a few $100s a year. And I imagine that's the same for many or most of the city as well. And there's thousands of cars in the city. And I think if you do the math, a few $100s for everyone's cars, maybe $100, maybe it's $300. We're talking about millions of dollars that are possibly, I don't know if that's enough to make the city safer, but moving from Clifton to Passaic, I'm paying hundreds of dollars more per car per year. And I'm just wondering if the savings that the city is thinks they're having, my neighbor's car was broken into. A few weeks later, my neighbor's car was stolen. A pretty new van, a 2019 van, was stolen in the middle of the night from a safe street. And I know that I'm going to be paying for my neighbor's van through the increase in premiums over the years. And that's what I wanted to stress tonight. I also wanted to ask that I know that there's been issues with Zoom and people talking on Zoom, but the city the council president proposed that maybe people call into the city and they say their name and their phone number beforehand, and that was the proposition. But the next meeting that came out, it said that you have to actually submit your statement. That was a little bit different than was mentioned, and I don't know if that's. I didn't see any resolution happen in the city that changed this format. It seemed to have happened behind the scenes. But what happened in the city council, what was expressed to the lawyer, to the attorney of the city, was that people should be able to attend on Zoom and speak. And the reason why I'm asking that is because it's very hard to know when people can speak, the public hearing for citizens. Tonight, looking at my phone, the city council meeting starts at 7. It's 9:37. It started around 9:30. If somebody wanted to speak, they would have to sit here for 2.5 hours, not knowing when the public hearing is. I think that that's an inconvenience to accountability in the city. I'm also questioning how a council member can attend online, but people in the city are not able to speak. And I wonder if there's another avenue that can work, that there won't be issues like the council president suggested, that people can actually say their name and their phone number beforehand, and then they can have a chance to speak. Thank you.
Good deal. Let me try to address some of these issues, Mr. Wolf. The first is the effective date of the ordinance, the commercial,
February 7th.
February.
7th.
So as of February 7 or February 8, commercial vehicles will not be allowed to park. Except, of course, if they're going to be getting tickets.
Council.
Yeah, Council President, I just want to clarify one
Please.
topic on the ordinance. Commercial vehicle prohibition has always been in our ordinance. This was just to clarify for the police, but commercial vehicle prohibition overnight parking has always been in the city's ordinance long before I was born.
To the specific question, the hours are from 10 to 6, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It has always been the case that commercial vehicles cannot park
That's right.
overnight. They are allowed from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. in the streets.
In terms of this issue, someone mentioned to me that the only municipality in the state of New Jersey that allowed past tense commercial parking on streets was Passaic, and that the other.
Well, we
other
never
one-
allowed it. I think there was a confusion in terms of what was included. So some individuals, if I may, I'll give an example. Let's say transportation vehicles that resemble personal vehicle use. Individuals go, that was never an issue 30 years ago. Well, 30 years ago, they weren't being used to take students to school or transportation. About 10 to 15 years ago, individuals started using vans to transport people to airports. So municipalities had to address that these are commercial use, not personal. You're getting paid, and you've applied for commercial license plate, which allows the opportunity for tax write-offs, especially when it comes to gas mileage or any work on the vehicle. Commercial plates identify you as a commercial vehicle, and you are subject to the same laws as landscaping trucks, as tow trucks, as vans and school buses. The difference was in the designation, because for, let's say, the yellow school bus, you can transport over 20 individuals. These particular vehicles, their classification was, I believe, like 16 passengers or less. The law that was placed before the council of the ordinance was to clarify that this designation is clearly part of the commercial license or commercial ordinance. So it's always been the same law in the city of Passaic. And this law is the same in every municipality. So it was more that Passaic had to clarify what vehicles fall under the commercial ordinance.
So Clifton does not make parking
No,
available?
there's no municipality where you can allow your commercial vehicle to park overnight. You go through the city. So there are parking lots where you can rent. There are initiatives that you can make, but the law is the same. Municipalities from Clifton to Garfield, Bergen County, commercial vehicles are not freely allowed to park overnight in the streets. And I think for the community, they understand that if that was not the case, taxis, people's landscaping trucks would be allowed to take up the parking spaces in residential areas. Individuals can simply take any vehicle for commercial use and fill up the street with them, and there would be no limit to how many can do, because you cannot just make it for one and not enforce it for others.
Thank you, sir. And your second question is in terms of the authority of the council president. The law provides that I have the flexibility as council president to make some of the changes which have been made. Councilwoman. I'm sorry, Councilman.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on Mr. Wolf's comment about car break-ins. Mr. Wolf, I don't know if you're aware, but that is one of the greatest phenomenons happen throughout the country. There's probably more car break-ins and car thefts in suburbia than even urban cities at this point. They have mechanisms now where they are putting up machines and they can start your car without even having the keys. They're breaking into houses to take cars. You made an interesting point about your insurance went up $10, $100 a car when you move from Clifton to Passaic. Clifton's our neighbor and sister city. It's nothing against Clifton, but I contest, because I looked it up, I contest that if you stayed in Clifton, you probably would be paying $300 or $400 more per car, because their break-ins, car break-ins is up 400% in Clifton from a year ago. So I'm not sure what council member you're referring to or who the hearsay said that, but I can assure you, this council, as long as I've sat on this city council, are willing to spend the extra dollar to keep our citizens safe. And in fact, we have done it. But I can tell you, thieves, in particular those who break in cars, they don't break in the cars when police are present. We do not have the manpower nor the resources to have a police officer guarding every community and every car. It's an unfortunate situation. It's happened to me. I will admit it. But it's something that we don't take lightly, but I doubt I would be willing to bet whatever I had, which is not much. That there's not a council member on this diocese, including the mayor and administration, would ever make a comment about finances versus keeping our citizens safe. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for the clarity. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council, please? Yes, ma'am.
Brenda Wheeler, 17 Vineyard Place in Passaic. Just want a clarification. When we're talking about commercial vehicles, are we talking about the school van vehicles that have the school van license plates also? And just for clarification purposes, the time is from 10 p.m. to 6 p.m. that they cannot park. And this is effective when?
I'm sorry. Through the council president, I'm often need to remind everyone it's a council meeting, not a mayor's meeting. So, council president, if I may, the hours, because I had the discussion with the police chief. The ordinance has been in effect always about commercial vehicles. Whenever you have a new, approach to the law, meaning if the law says, I work better with examples, you cannot smoke in a restaurant. And then when hookahs came out, there was that confusion whether that was smoking or not, and then the law had to address it. It didn't mean that it came up with new laws for smoking. They had to explain the classification of hookah that it fell into smoking. With that understood, Similar situation occurred with these new vans because they're being used for transportation. So when we presented it before the council, in order to have that clarification, once they passed it on the ordinance, there's a period of, I believe, 20 days that have to go by. So February 7th, what's been happening and why there's so much, I guess, communication online is because everyone's been receiving warnings. Police have been going out actively giving warnings, letting people know you need to place these vehicles either in a lot or an appropriate place. But as of February 7th, enforcement will occur. I have met with a number of individuals who I will share candidly are irate at the fact that they cannot leave their commercial vehicles in the street. However, I've explained that parking is at a premium. It is unfair to the residents because then there's no limit. If you allow for 20, how do you know 2 months from now it's not 40, 60, 80? How do you prevent other individuals going, I'm going to start my own transportation business? You have delivery vehicles. You have cars that are used for transportation to hospital, to airports. We cannot allow these vehicles on the road without allowing every other commercial vehicle. So as of February 7th, it will be strictly enforced. However, understanding that there are concerns, I know there will be conversations with the council, with our attorney, with police to find out if there are ways that we can accommodate that will not create a burden to the parking opportunities in residential areas. But I will hold firm to that we cannot allow these commercial vehicles to park freely on the street because we do not have additional or free spaces that aren't being used.
Okay, so then I just want to make a comment with regard to my street, Vineyard Place. These two school van vehicles that park there, they do have their own garage, which they don't park in the garage. As soon as they see a free parking spot, they will move that vehicle on the street, which take up parking from other residents. And I'm on a dead-end street, so I'm looking out for my whole block. But it takes up the parking from the residents that's on that block because they're being so selfish and not using their garage for those vehicles. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Joe Conoscenti, 170 Broadway. I'm here with a banner. At the last meeting I was here, I told you about the 4 banners and the remarks that I got from that, from Council President. These banners were put up for our veterans. Now we're getting the poles falling down. God forbid if somebody gets hurt. But my point is, these are veterans that fought in the wars. They did a lot for this country. They fought in all kinds of weather. The remark was made that we had a storm, so that's not important. These things are always important every day. I'm finding them on the street. Some people throw them in the garbage. There's a lot of them missing. What needs to be done is, I keep bringing this up to you, end cap. This fits right on the end cap. And then hold the banner on there and won't fall off in the storm. But I don't know how long it's going to take. And another thing is, what was bothering me was kind of strange that the straps that were on there, because they're screw-on clamps that they're like, you could call like a hose clamp, but they're a little heavier. Why they're coming off, I don't know. They need somebody to go out and inspect these, because somebody is going to get hurt with one of these poles. And it's a shame what's happening with these banners. Like I said again, these are our veterans. They need to be more respected. That's my first question. My other question is, UEZ, why are you using funds for a holiday window decoration? Storefronts, home yards. Since when they're using UEZ funds for that? This is my questions I have.
In terms of your second question first, UEZ has been been awarding funds for that very purpose for a number of years.
To give out
Purpose
credit
of, the
cards, to give
purpose
out
of
gift
UE,
cards.
the purpose of UEZ is to encourage development of business opportunities in the city, and that is the rationale behind it. Their budget is approved by Trenton, as all UEZ budgets are.
Not to give out
One-
gift cards,
I'm sorry, sir?
not to give out gift cards.
I'm not quite sure whether that is
I know you're not
allowed or
sure.
not allowed, but I'm sure you've done your
Well,
homework.
they did it.
Council President, was pre-approved. The application was given to the state
I
for the
can't imagine
promotion.
that this administration would do anything that had a breath, a hint of impropriety.
But on the record, the state approved that it was an application request beforehand for the promotion of small businesses during the holidays, and they approved it.
Great, thank you, sir. Thank you for the clarity on that. Anyone else like to address the council, please?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion and second roll call, please, to close.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz.
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. We're under communication, Roman numeral 8 on our agenda. Are there any questions, please, on Roman numeral 8, 1 and 2? Hearing none at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept items 1 and 2?
So move.
Second.
Motion and second roll call, thank you.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. All matters listed here under to be considered routine in nature. Items 3 through 10. Is there a motion? Are there any questions, please, on 3 to 10? Seeing none at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept 3 to 10?
So move.
Motion,
Second.
second.
Council President. I think that's more.
That's Councilman Monk.
Yeah, just
Councilman
one quick
Walker.
yeah, one quick question on item number 9.
Yes, sir.
So there's a list of issued tickets and complaints, and there's this numbers of disposed tickets. Disposed means they were let go, or the tickets were they were paid, or they were the judge decided that they were not guilty.
Mr. Fernandez, can you,
It's adjudicated. So disposed does not mean that they were dismissed. It means that they were dealt with. And that could have been a fine, it could have been jail time, it could have been a multitude of things.
In other words, like we had in the month of December, there were 3,874 parking tickets issued. And there were 4,309 parking tickets that were disposed. So obviously there was a carryover. They won't match, I guess, from the month before. But do we know what percentage of parking tickets that are issued that are actually paid? And how many are dismissed? Is there such a figure?
So yes, and I could, actually, I mean, I don't have the number in front of me, but yes, and every month at the parking authority meeting, we go over the tickets that were issued and the payments of those tickets and what the number was. So the answer is
Is that something that could be included in this monthly report?
Council President or Councilman, are you referring to the revenue, or rather the fines, the total of the monies that are coming in, or how many of the tickets? Because as the BA mentioned, they'll never match up because some are carried over, some go on to the next month. But in terms of, let's say the 4,000 that you're referring to, are you speaking of a breakdown of how many are paid, how many are dismissed, or the total of how many are paid on a monthly basis?
No, I guess the breakdown really, what number is paid and what number is dismissed. Just to get a feel of, in the court system, from the parking tickets that are written, are 90% paid or 90% dismissed. You just get a flavor of all the efforts on behalf of the
We
parking
can make that
officers.
request.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all, thank you. Okay.
Again, are there any questions on items 3 through 11, 3 through 10, please? Seeing none, is there a motion, please, to accept items 3 to 10?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
abstain.
Oh, no. 11.
Councilman Love,
3 through 10, yes.
3 through 10.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. On number 11, please, separate vote. Motion, please.
Second.
Motion and second, we have a second, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Abstain, Leatherly.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Abstain.
and Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. We're under resolutions, please. Number 12 is a resolution authorizing closed executive session. Susie, do we need closed executive? Thank you. Mr. Fernandez?
No, Council President.
Mr. Marisso?
None at this time.
Thank you, sir. Members of the council? Looking at our other resolutions before us, items 13 through 34. Are there any questions, please, on 13 through 34?
Question on 25.
On 25, Councilman?
The, when did this contract start? Is this a renewal on a contract or a contract? Because the heading.
No, so this is actually, and I'm glad you brought that up. We're very excited about that. Hopefully, I can't see her face, but I hope the city clerk is smiling because this came at her request. This is for the parking permits, not just residential, but all the parking permits, whether that's the commercial parking permits, all the fees for permit, right? It's for all of it to issue the permits, okay? So that it automates the process. Right now, I don't even want to explain to you the process that she goes through to issue these things. Quite frankly, this is taken from other municipalities that do have.
It says the term of the contract is from December 2022 through 25.
Yes, that's because it includes the initial setup is the software and then the maintenance of the software through the
So
year.
is this a new contract or is this a renewal on?
No, this is new. We don't have this program.
But it says the terms of the contract are from December
So
2022.
it might have been a misprint. Am I missing something, Madam Clerk? I don't want to misspeak, but to me, this is a new contract.
No, it's new. It's a typo.
So
So I think it might be just a date issue.
item 25.
Yeah, maybe the dates are off because it's a new program.
Okay, because it says there was a contract up from December 1st, 22 through November 25 with an option for renewal of 2 additional 1-year terms through November 27.
Oh, I see. So our purchasing director just told me what she was referring to there was the national co-op. The national co-op contract that allows us to purchase off of it is from 22 to 25. But the contract is new. For the contract of the software is a new software program.
Thank you for the clarity.
Yes.
Any other questions, please?
Yeah, just on
Yeah.
29. Councilman Monk, just 29. That additional cost, what was that for? The 36,000.
So there was a pipe that was found that had to be extracted from the thing that was not originally known at the time. So they opened up, they found it, they had to extract the pipe.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Council President. Item 13, resolution awarding contract for automated payroll services. Are we currently using this company?
Yes.
And what the pricing for what's being proposed here is the same as last year, or is there an increase, and how much of an increase if there is?
Same as last year.
Same price. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. And my last question I have is on item 32. What is this resolution in support of establishing and adopting a complete streets policy in the city of Passaic?
So this is just a statement, it's a policy statement that we support complete streets as presented before this council, and the council's been extremely supportive of it. I'll give you an example. The Hamilton State Street project that was presented before the council, that includes multimodal transportation, so having bike lanes, having sidewalk items, vehicular items. So it's kind of the complete street is a marrying of all those things we've been already doing, crosswalks, ADA ramps, everything that has to do with a street. And the reason they call it complete streets is because you're combining multiple, right, pedestrian safety, for bicycle safety. It's like a big buzzword that's been going around for many years, called complete street and complete street policies. And why now? So I could tell you one of the mayor's directive is we're going to win the gold. So part of additional funding, so we were granted silver. For us to get the gold, we can't get the gold unless we support the policy. And hence why the resolution is here, which adds additional funding. Mayor, did I?
Yes, like most recently on Spring and Brook, you will notice that we added ADA ramps and crosswalks. I had shared in the last public meeting that came a result as a young man, Yakov, has stopped me walking my dog and said we need crosswalks on Brook and Spring. But we've been doing that around the city, identifying areas, and whether it's ADA compliant curb cuts, whether it's putting the lights in some of the signs, the stop signs with the solar panels, whether it's bike lanes, it's sort of this holistic approach of stating that we need to create pedestrian safety, traffic flow, according to the studies, make sure that we're providing opportunities for those who choose to use bikes instead of vehicles. And then when this gets assessed, maybe not as important as the funding, but we get the designation of gold. And we get to come to the council and say we are now designated as a gold complete street city.
And if I may add, if you're picturing a complete street, the best example I can give you is the Main Avenue redesign. If you look at our Main Avenue redesign, that is the poster child for a complete street.
Any other questions? Members of the council, please be aware that items number 33 and 34 were discussed earlier in terms of Green Acres funding for the park proposal. Are there any other questions, please, on 13 through 34? Seeing none at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept 13 through 34?
So move.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Short,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. We are up to ordinances for introduction and first reading. Number 35, a proposed ordinance amending the designation of restricted parking for disabled persons by New Jersey license plate number. Is there a motion, please, to sit down for second and final reading at our meeting of February 6th?
So move.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Short,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. Payment of bills, please. Are there any questions on the bills? Seeing none at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept the bills?
Move it.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Short,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. Administrators report, Mr. Fernandez.
None at this time, sir.
Just a note to you personally, Mr. Fernandez, and of course to the mayor and your staff on a tremendous job on the presentation today. Mr. Mayor?
Just very quickly, because this came up in terms of recent storms, through the Blue Acres program, homeowners have the option to voluntarily sell their flood-prone homes to the NJDEP, providing a path for recovery and minimizing hazards. Blue Acres offers fair market value and evaluates participants for supplemental assistance or incentives. Homeowners can reach out to Brian Cachu at 609-954-0982. Once again, Brian Cachu at 609-954-0982. I remind our community that we are taking applications for 8th graders and high school students to apply to become part of our Passaic Youth Council. And then if I may add, just very quickly, Council President, I know it's come up a couple of times in our meetings. We have over 200 veteran banners. Over 200 veteran banners on Main Ave. Recently, we had a number of 4 that came down, which means over 200 have weathered storms, winds, and have stayed there. Storms have brought down trees, strong trees. We expect that some are going to fall, but I just want to give perspective that we've put up well over 200 veteran signs. This is a city-driven initiative. It didn't come at a request, and veterans have been ecstatic. Families have been very appreciative. But again, I believe that at one time we had a number of 4, and at the highest about less than 10. But DPW gets on it, and we appreciate every resident if they find one, much like if there's a storm and they find branches on the road and trees. We cannot account for Mother Nature when the forces are strong, but we can respond, and we thank everyone who assists us. But I want to give perspective. Over 200 that are still up and have remained up since we put them up, which is a testament to the DPW's hard work in terms of making sure that they put them up appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe our agenda is done. Is there a motion, please, to?
So move it.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz.
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen.